Good evening, guys, and welcome back to the classroom with Architect Mark. Tonight, we're going to be talking about one of the fundamental aspects of SketchUp that has been forgotten over the years, but this was one of the main highlights as to why SketchUp got so popular so quickly. And it's called the Sandbox. And it's pretty relevant right now because of a show that's going on. But what it is essentially is a terrain editing tool, and we'll get to that inside the classroom. So let's head on over to it now, and let's start here. Okay, so if you don't have the sandbox tools, I have it here. I pulled it up and by right clicking on any space of the toolbar, and you can just find it there. Here it is, sandbox. And it has expanded over the years, and the first ones are the more obvious uh, solutions, which is basically this first one requires that you already have data for the terrain. This is extremely important, especially for those who will be students who want to make a thesis out of a land that is not flat, because frankly that's more interesting. So that's why a lot of architecture students attempt to gravitate towards areas that are not flat. So I have already included a sample here. So let's find it by moving away from Mark right here. And let's see just how big of a thing we're talking about right here. All right. So this is a part of a mountain terrain. And when you're working with these, you get these from engineering drawings, geodetical drawings. What you want to do with these, when you have this tool, the sandbox tool, it makes it really easy. You just select all of them. And then let's deselect Mark here because he's not a part of the terrain. And when you invoke the sandbox from contours, it automatically generates uh, a geometry across the entire uh, over the length of the data. So it closes it where it thinks that should be closed, and normally follows uh, the way that it should look like in actuality. And it's pretty accurate, but you might not like because you can see here that since the terrain was cut in portions that uh, are not, because the segments of each line here, these are not equal. So when you look at it closer, because normally you won't need to do this, but if you did need to, you can see that there is a lot of uh, mess that has been generated because of this uh, easy method of contour generation, but or terrain generation. But it is accurate, and you can use this without a doubt. Just be wary that there's a lot of uh, destruction going on. We'll get to that later when we talk about what these are. So let's just remove that for now and then go back to Mark here. And try out this other method that SketchUp is offering us, which is basically create a terrain from scratch. Now, when you uh, use this command and you move it about, so it asks us for the second corner. Let's say we want it to be around this big, and then around that. So let's turn off hidden geometry for a moment so you can see that it simply generates a sort of a mesh that's full of squares. And you'd probably be thinking, why or how is this uh, contour? Well, the idea behind this is that you will need to fashion this in some way, shape, or form. And how do you do that? Basically, you move the elements inside of this uh, plane that is already subdivided into sections. What you want to do is you go into it and you can move like you can move a an edge like this. These are called edges. And what you will see is, oops, yeah, we want it to move upwards only. What you can see is that somehow you can create sort of mountainous design using this type of geometry. It might take a while, but there are other tools that might help you uh, create a desired shape, like this next tool here, which is Smoove, which is an amalgamation of smooth and then move. So how does this work? Uh, you need an object selected, or rather, you need to be inside of an object where you will apply the smooth. Now, uh, you can see here that there is an outer radius for the smooth, and that means that all the points inside of that will be affected by a move. So there is a fall off, and the strength of the smooth or smooth movement affects that. Can you can reduce the radius, like for example, you just want it to be affecting uh, near objects. You can do that too. In other programs called paint deformation or something. But you can see that we can fine tune our terrain using this tool. It looks better overall. Now, what else do we have? Apart from smooth, we have stamp, which is uh, it's like drape but in reverse. Select the face to stamp into the mesh or type a new offset for the stamp. So this requires a new This requires like two geometries together, also with the Drape tool. Let's try that. Create a circle over here and then move it to somewhere above our area here. See if that works with stamp. So what happens is the profile creates a secondary ring around it, and then uh, it generates resolution underneath or overhead. It depends on where you want to stamp it. So it's basically like you're putting a if that was a building footprint and you stamp it onto a place, then automatically you have a flat surface and you can work off of that. Drape works in reverse. And what happens with Drape? So here, let's create a box. Let's move that box underneath our initial model. Okay. So I have our box there. And if we wanted to reflect the data in here to the box, we can use the Drape tool. So let's select that and then drape it over. Okay, I see now. So there's nothing to drape, that's why nothing happened. Let's move it a little bit over, scoot it over where there's a lot of activity. Be thereabouts. Let's try that one more time. Select the data that you want to be reflected in an object that you have. So there. That's how stamp works. It takes the data above and then puts it uh, below. Or, yeah, drape. What else do we have here? Oh, this one. Add detail means resolution will increase in that particular position. When I talk about resolution, that basically means the number of uh, vertices and edges that you can work with. For example, we choose this. Let's choose these four squares here and then add resolution to it or detail. What happens is a new square has been formed inside of it, and all of those uh, areas around it needed this new line to be considered uh, correct geometry. So it transforms everything basically into bigger meshes. And then the last sandbox tool here is the flip edge tool, which basically allows us to reform our model. If we wanted, for example, to focus on this point right here, we can remove the resolution around it so that we have control singular point there, which we might want to move to redefine that area. So there you have it. Those are all the sandbox tools, and admittedly, they're quite powerful, and you can make fancy geometry out of them. Maybe even jewelry or stuff that requires some contouring. So I hope you learned something new today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.